Welcome to SME Biz Hub, the leading integrated digital SME content platform that aggregates all national SME-related information and interventions by all stakeholders to enable SMEs as well as the different entrepreneurship stakeholders make informed decisions. SME Biz Hub is also a policy discourse platform where we unpack and examine current SME policies as well as discuss SME policy options based on current felt challenges of SMEs and startups. Today we are going to explore opportunities for Kenyan SMEs under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement as a resilience as well as a recovery channel from the negative effects of COVID-19. AFCFTA is a key agenda under the African Union 2063 program, and it's an agreement among African Union member states which aims to significantly accelerate growth of inter-Africa trade and use trade more effectively as an engine of growth and sustainable development by doubling intra-Africa trade, strengthening Africa's common voice and policy space in global negotiations. 2021 is a significant year given that Africa will start trading under the AFCFTA terms as of January 2021. And this calls for SMEs themselves as well as key players in the SME ecosystem to explore opportunities that lack for Kenyan SMEs as well as explore policy measures to support Kenyan SMEs in exploiting the opportunities anticipated to stem out of the Africa Free Trade Agreement. So in this episode, we will explore three areas. Number one, we'll examine the framework that underpins the Africa Free Trade Agreement under the AU Agenda 2063. We'll take a deep dive on Kenyan SME landscape. And finally, we'll explore the roles and possible interventions of key SME stakeholders in supporting SMEs to harness the opportunities that would stem out from trade under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. So let's start off with Agenda 2063. Agenda 2063 is Africa's blueprint and master plan that is very similar to Kenya's Vision 2030. And seeks to transform Africa into the global powerhouse of the future. So it's the continent's strategic framework that aims to deliver its goals for inclusive and sustainable development and is a solid manifestation of the Pan-African drive for unity, self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity for all member states. So the AFCFTA builds upon the regional markets of the regional economic communities, such as the EAC, ECOWAS, SADC, in providing channel for growth for African SMEs. So Kenya, just like other state parties in accordance with Article 27(2)(d) of the Protocol on Trade in Service, is mandated to improve the export capacity of both formal and informal SMEs. The second area that we shall look at is a deep dive on Kenya's SME legislative framework or environment. And this, of course, we can look at it from the broader perspective in the lenses of Vision 2030, that seeks to transform Kenya into a newly industrialized, high middle-income country. Vision 2030 recognizes the role of SMEs in attaining its goals. So similarly, SMEs are considered as the cornerstone for manufacturing and have been identified as a central enabler towards realizing the current government's Big Four transformational agenda under the manufacturing pillar. At the international level, SMEs are considered critical in achieving the United Nations 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development goals. So in Kenya, Kenyan SMEs are underpinned under the MSC Act, or the Micro and Small Enterprise Act 2012, which created a structural framework for the promotion of SME activities with 4 new government institutions created under the framework: Registrar of MSCs, MSC Association and Umbrella Organizations, and MSC Authority, which is MSIA, the Micro Small Enterprise Authority. More importantly, SMEs are the backbone of Kenya's economy, contributing 33% to GDP. SMEs constitute 98% of all businesses in Kenya and employ over 30% of Kenya's population. And looking at the SME subsector contributing towards GDP, the top 4 sectors are manufacturing, food and accommodation, wholesale retail, and finally motor vehicle and motorcycle repair. So despite the important role SMEs play, they continue to experience a very high mortality rate of over 70%. That is 3 out of 5 SMEs dying before their 3rd birthday, and this is before COVID-19. We've had and seen reports of that mortality rate being as high as 80% in 2020 due to COVID-19. So the year 2021 and trade under the AFCFTA presents a timely opportunity for Kenyan SMEs to explore opportunities that will stem out of the agreement. And therefore, SMEs, as well as different SME stakeholders, must align and must take actions to ensure that the benefits are actually realized by SMEs in Kenya. So, as we conclude the episode, we shall explore, at least at a high level, the roles the different SME stakeholders must play to enable SMEs take advantage of trade under the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement. So first of all, we start with SMEs. So SMEs themselves need to play an important role for them to realize the benefits of trading under the agreement. So SMEs must create and strengthen themselves through trade associations or cooperatives, especially in target areas and subsectors as a means of accessing more information, more services, thus better manage their businesses and strengthen their bargaining power. There is power in numbers. So areas of aggregation for SMEs are SMEs in trade, especially for SMEs who operate within the Kenyan borders, as well as entrepreneurs in potential high value sectors. The second area that SMEs must explore in terms of action is investment in high potential sectors. So the AFCFTA expects some sectors to play a key role, and they have identified high potential sectors that would thrive under the AFCFTA. Areas or sectors that have been identified as high potential are textile, wearing apparel, leather, wood and paper, vehicle and transport equipment, electronics, specialized in service sectors within the continental economy, as well as tourism. So those are sectors that, other than SMEs, aggregating under cooperatives, as well as associations, investment in or realignment and investing in these high potential sectors would be good for SMEs to take advantage of the agreement. And of course, this will be able to help SMEs build resilience, because a lot of SMEs in Kenya that experienced high mortality rate was within wholesale and retail. So this is where SMEs would buy and sell. And these are sectors that have been highly affected by the COVID pandemic. So the second stakeholders that must take action or must do interventions that would directly affect how SMEs are able to take advantage of the agreement is what we call industry. And in Kenya, industry is represented by various bodies or organizations. Number one being the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA. We have the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, KNCCI. We have Kenya Association of Manufacturers, KAM, Kenya Bankers Association, KBA, Kenya National Federation of Juakali Associations, and nascent formations such as the Digital Lenders Association of Kenya. They can be able to explore the following interventions. And again, these interventions are not exhaustive in themselves, but are just, can be able to help catalyze conversations around the same. Number one is subcontracting opportunities. Given that we know larger companies that are represented by the associations that we've mentioned, such as KEPSA and KNCCI, will have resources and will be able to negotiate and access new continental market opportunities. So it would be good if such opportunities can trickle down to SMEs through subcontracting of excess capacity. So that would have a direct bearing on SMEs. We have trade and exhibition opportunities. Again, industry players, as represented by KEPSA, KNCCI, etc., are able to access and have negotiations at very high levels and can be able to organize trade exhibitions to various African countries for SMEs to showcase their and sell their products. As well as, again, the same industry players can be able to organize study tours and benchmarking opportunities for SMEs, in select industries to enable them learn new ways of doing business, as well as form a partnership with different SMEs across the continent, as well as help them develop linkages in continental value chains. So this will be able to help SMEs, access opportunities across the continent. The last intervention that stakeholders classified under industry would be around making trade finance available, and this specifically speaks to Kenya Bankers Association as well as Digital Lenders Association of Kenya, which represents fintechs in the country. So, they must rise to the occasion and provide the necessary trade finance that can support inter-country trade, especially for SMEs. So there is need for innovative products around trade finance to enable SMEs take advantage and finance their operations as they try to expand to the continent. The last but not least, in terms of stakeholder, is government. So in line with the government's effort of supporting SMEs through Vision 2030, as well as MTP3, the following areas can be explored by government to facilitate Kenyan SMEs harness the potential presented by the trade agreement. Number one is market intelligence. So government must conduct a continental feasibility study and establish current and potential market opportunities, hence facilitate markets for Kenyan SMEs, as well as venture build around potential market opportunities. So of course this can be done through Ministry of Trade, and specifically I think PROBA or Brand Kenya. So in instances where government sees there are available market opportunities, government can facilitate through trade and exhibition opportunities. And in instances where government identifies a market and we don't have SMEs plying trade in those sectors, they can be able to build ventures around the same and invite SMEs or entrepreneurs who are willing to go into those sectors to come in and apply their trade in those sectors. And government can build ventures around the same by providing training and finance so that SMEs or entrepreneurs can be able to take advantage of that. The second area is on issues around quality and availing quality standards. So this can be achieved through a more close collaboration between Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, and the TVET subsector under the Ministry of Education, with SMEs in manufacturing, especially for Jua Kali sectors, the Jua Kali sector, on improving product quality through adoption of quality standards, as well as access to production equipment that lies under the TVET subsector. The other area that government can support is intellectual property support. So government must facilitate intellectual property support and enforcement for locally manufactured goods. Support of future industry is another area or intervention that government can can be able to engage. So in response to globalization and recent global trends, Kenya must support SMEs in key future industries. Number one being the pharmaceutical and healthcare to manufacture PPEs locally, which will target both local and continental markets. And we've learned this lesson courtesy of COVID-19. We have the area around green economy, as well as startups that are organizations that are founded or based on technology. So the other area that government can explore is improving trade facilitation processes at the border. So this will be especially beneficial to women who are estimated to account for 70% of informal trade across the border in Africa, and are especially vulnerable to harassment and violence. So tariff reduction and improved trade facilitation makes it more affordable for informal traders to operate through formal channels, which will offer more protection, especially for women SMEs. So as I mentioned, these interventions are not exhaustive in themselves and are meant to catalyze conversations around supporting Kenyan SMEs take full advantage of the AFCFTA as a resilience and growth channel for SMEs. I hope the session has been helpful, and we look forward to having more conversation on policy, on SME policy support in Kenya, and we hope the session has been helpful. Remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel SME Biz Hub, as well as our social media pages. God bless and have a nice time.